Hi, this is Kevin Lee, and right now I'm going over the word for development unit.
Okay, so for the first word is fetus, the developing human organism from 9 weeks after conception to birth. Embryo, the developing human organism from about 2 weeks after fertilization through the second month. Zygote, the fertilized egg, it enters a 2-week period of rapid cell division and develops into an embryo. Schema, a concept or framework that organizes and interprets information. So existing schema, he's for like pet as a dog. A simulation interpreting our new experience in terms of our existing schemas. Like saw this for like animal for the first time, and existing schema he's for like pet as a dog, and child would call this a dog. Fatal alcohol syndrome, which stands for FAS, physical and cognitive abnormalities in children caused by a pregnant woman's heavy drink. In severe cases, symptoms include noticeable facial misproportions. Teratogens, agents such as chemicals and viruses that can reach the embryo or fetus during prenatal development and cause harm. Cognition, all the mental activities associated with thinking, knowing, remembering, and communicating. Habituation, decreasing responsiveness with repeated stimulation. As infants gain familiarity with repeated exposure to a visual stimulus, their interest wanes and they look away sooner. Sensory motor stage. In Piaget's theory, the stage from birth to about 2 years of stage, during which infants know the world, mostly in terms of their sensory impressions and motor activities. Object permanence, the awareness that things continue to exist even when not perceived. Maturation, biological growth process that enable orderly changes in behavior, relatively uninfluenced by experience. Development psychology, a branch of psychology that studies physical, cognitive, and social change throughout the lifespan. Conservation, the principle which Piaget believed to be a part of the concrete operations reasoning, that properties such as mass, volume, and number remain the same despite changes in the forms of objects. Accommodation, adapting our current understandings or schemas to incorporate new information. So like existing schema is for like pet is a dog, and someone points out that this is a cat though it has 4 legs, and realizes that all 4-leg animals are not dogs. This is accommodation. Pre-operational stage. In Piaget theory, the stage from 0 to about 6 or 7 years of age, during which a child learns to use language but does not yet comprehend the mental operations of concrete logic. Egocentrism. In Piaget theory, the pre-operational children difficulty taking another's point of view. Theory of mind. People's idea about their own and others' mental states, about their feelings, perceptions, and thoughts, and the behaviors this might predict. Concrete operational stage. In Piaget theory, the stage of cognitive development from about 6 or 7 to 11 years of age, during which children gain the mental operations that enable them to think logically about concrete events. Formal operational stage. In Piaget's theory, the stage of cognitive development normally begins in about age 12, during which people begin to think logically about abstract concepts. Aggression, physical or verbal behavior intended to hurt someone. Autism spectrum disorder, a disorder that appears in childhood and is marked by significant deficiencies in communication and social interaction, and by rigidly fixed interest and repetitive behaviors. Stranger anxiety, the fear of strangers that infants commonly display, beginning by about 8 months of age. Oh, by the way, when I was young, I have stranger anxiety. Attachment, an emotional tie with another person shown in young children by their seeking closeness to the caregiver and showing distress on separation. Critical period, an optimal period shortly after birth when an organism exposure to certain stimuli or experiences produces proper development. It's like the critical period that one reached the stage to another's one. And imprinting, the process by which certain animals form attachments during a critical period were very early in life. Temperament, a person's characteristic emotional reactivity and intensity. Basic trust, according to Erickson, a sense that the world is predictable and trustworthy, said to be formed during infancy and by appropriate experiences with responsive caregivers. Self-concept, or our thoughts and feelings about ourselves in answer to the question, who am I? Chromosome, the sex chromosome found in both men and women. Females have two of these, men have one. One chromosome from each parent produces a female child. Y chromosome, the sex chromosome found only in males. When paired with an X chromosome from the mother, it produces a male child. Estrogens, sex hormones such as estradiol, secreted in greater amounts by females than by males, and contributing to female sex characteristics. In non-human female mammals, estrogen levels peak during ovulation, promoting sexual receptivity. Testosterone, the most important of the male sex hormones, both males and females have it. But the additional testosterone in males stimulates the growth of the male sex organs in the fetus and the development of the male sex characteristics during puberty. Flow intelligence, our ability to reason speedily and abstractly, tends to decrease during late adulthood. Role, a set of expectations or norms about social position, defining how those in the position ought to behave. Gender role, a set of expected behaviors for males or for females. Gender identity, our sense of being male or female. Gender, psychological and social characteristics as being male or female, defined especially as one's gender identity and the learned gender roles. Sex, one's biological aspects of maleness or femaleness. Androgynous, the presence of both masculine and feminine traits in a single person as defined by one's own culture. Gender typing, the acquisition of a traditional masculine or female role. Social learning theory, the theory that we learn social behavior by observing and imitating and by being rewarded or punished. Adolescence, the transition period from childhood to adulthood, extending from puberty to independence. Puberty, the period of sexual maturation during which a person becomes capable of reproducing. Primary sex characteristics, the body structure, ovaries, testes, and external genitalia that make sexual reproduction possible. Secondary sex characteristics, non-reproductive sexual characteristics such as female breast and hips, male voice quality, and body hair.
Menarche.
The first menstrual period. Identity, our sense of self. According to Erickson, the adolescent's task is to solidify a sense of self by testing and integrating various roles. Social identity, the V aspects of our self concept, the part of our answer to who am I that comes from our group memberships. Intimacy, in Erickson theory, the ability to form close, loving relationships, a primary developmental task in late adolescence and early adulthood. Emerging adulthood, for some people in modern cultures, a period from the late teens to mid 20s, bridging the gap between adolescent dependence and full independence and responsible adulthood. AIDS, like AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, a life-threatening sexually transmitted infection caused by the human immunodeficiency virus HIV. AIDS depletes the immune system, leaving the person vulnerable to infections. Sexual orientation and enduring sexual attractions toward members of either one's own sex. Homosexual orientation, the other sex, heterosexual orientation, both sexes, bisexual orientation, or neither sex, asexual orientation. Menopause, the time of natural cessation of menstruation, also refers to the biological changes a woman experiences as her ability to reproduce declines. Longitudinal study, research in which the same people are studied and rested over a long period. For a group of people, the tests are researched by a researcher at age 2, and the time will keep going, the experiment will keep going until they're age 17. Social clock, the culturally preferred timing of social events such as marriage, parenthood, and retirement. It's like the clock for us in the society. Cross-sectional study, a study in which people of different ages are compared with one another. So different from longitudinal study, it's like different people in different ages. Crystallized intelligence, our accumulated knowledge and verbal skills tends to increase with age.